Welcome to The Local Lens, the podcast that brings the South Dakota community together. I'm Jamie Forrest, your host and your local realtor, here to showcase what makes our region a fantastic place to live. Join me as we explore vibrant local culture, highlight community events, and provide valuable insights for homeowners. Whether you're a current resident or considering a move, The Local Lens is your go-to source for everything in South Dakota. Let's discover, connect, and thrive together. Welcome to the show. Welcome to The Local Lens. I have a great guest here today from the Black Hills, South Dakota area, Tristan Emond. He is part of a husband and wife team, which he'll tell us more about a little bit later, but they have years of experience helping families buy and sell homes. They've built a reputation for combining tech-savvy marketing with a warm client-first approach, which I love. That's my heart. So they've dedicated their career to showcasing the best of the Black Hills. They not only guide clients through the real estate decisions, but also highlight the lifestyle, the community, and the opportunities that make the region very special and a place to call home. So welcome to The Local Lens.
Oh, thanks, Jamie. It's good to be here.
Well, awesome. Let's just start off. Just introduce yourself. Tell a little bit about your real estate background, how you and your wife have been working, how long you've been working together, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, sounds good. I was working in a hardwood flooring business for the first part of, right after high school.
Okay.
And about 12 years of doing that, I decided, it's time to quit. So at the age of 30 with 4 children, I decided to get into a commission-only structure. Was pretty brave, right? So
Yeah.
2006, I actually start working as an assistant to a commercial realtor. And then as I'm working part-time with her, I start also then building my own residential business.
Okay.
Yeah, at about 2010, I was starting to do enough business so that I got away from the commercial side because I didn't like that side as well. And my wife joined me and we became the Emond Team. And then so we worked together for a while. And then in 2016, we looked at each other and says, you know what, we could do this ourselves and move from a corporate real estate office to creating our own independent real estate firm, Mindful Living Realty, where we've been for the past, whatever it's been, almost 10 years now here at Mindful Living Realty. So, and that's probably the best decision that we've ever made.
Very nice. So tell us what it's really like working as a husband and wife real estate team. How do you divide your roles? Does one of you have more strengths than the other? Tell us a little bit how that works.
Yeah, and you've kind of hit it on the head right there is the strength part. When we first started, we got together and we decided that we were going to do this thing. We were going to be like, okay, I'm going to have my clients, you'll have your clients, we'll work together. It's just kind of a loosey-goosey kind of a thing. But we figured out pretty quickly that that's not what she liked to do because she had her list of things to do. She's very numbers minded. She had to-do list minded. Very type A. She was always the one doing the finances. She was always the one doing the back end work with the state, make sure all that paperwork is in place.
Yeah.
So she would feel bad when she went to show homes and her to-do list didn't get done. And I was like, no, that's the job. That's the more important part. So, so we were kind of like, oh, maybe this isn't the way you want to do. And then she'd get really frustrated when somebody said, okay, I want this, but then go look at something else, and as real estate agents, we know that's pretty common, right? But
she had
these,
want
I know,
very different. Yes.
She had these clients that said, they were getting up in the 8 years and they wanted a home to retire. And they said, no with stairs. And one of the homes they wanted to look at was one that with like huge stairs going up. And she's like, why are we looking at this? Because she's like A plus B equals C and you're not following the pattern.
Yeah.
So what we figured out was that she needed to have this role where she is the numbers person, the paperwork person, the person on the back end. And I needed to be the face, the person because I'm more big picture. I don't like to see all the little details. I don't care so much about those. I'm looking at the big picture. What are we going to do? How are we going to make this happen? And so what I can do then also as we learn that, what I can do is okay, hey, this is what I want to do. Here's my idea. And then she can say, okay, here's your steps to make that happen. One, two, three, four, five. So
Mm-hmm.
once we figured out our roles in the situation and combining, like you mentioned, the strengths of who we were, it worked very well because I'm more extroverted than she is. She's very introverted. She doesn't like people enough. She has
Mm-hmm.
to, after too much time with people, she's got to be by herself. And I'm a
Yes.
little more, I can be with people more often. So
Yes.
we kind of figured out amongst ourselves how to work with each other that made the most sense. And my biggest challenge was then being able to trust her enough to give her the stuff. Because
Right.
initially, you have someone that joins you after doing the work for so long, you kind of don't want to hand everything off, right? Because you got to make sure it gets done, So it took me a
Yes.
while before I was like, what am I doing? She's good at the number stuff. She's good at the paperwork stuff. So it took me a while before I was able to like take the file and just go boop, and
Oop.
then move on. Which
Yes.
later on I was like, hey, this is fun.
I can do this boring work over here. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can do
you
the
can
fun stuff and
you
show
can take all that
houses.
transaction coordination stuff. I'll go show some
Yes.
more homes and make some more videos, no problem.
Yes. Talk to people. Yes. Okay. So since you do the business together, though, how do you balance like your real estate life, your family life, and then are you active in your community or the things you do there? How do you keep that all together, being you're both working in the business?
Yeah, so a lot of it's pretty easy because since she does the paperwork side of things, she's a little more structured on our time frame. She doesn't necessarily have to be working in the evenings. So,
Right.
when we still had kids that were still in the home, she was still there, able to cook, all to do all the things that we were doing family wise. And if I had an evening showing, then I took off and did the evening showing because the paperwork, if it doesn't get done till the next day or at least
Yeah.
I do, of course, do the purchase agreements or whatever needs to be done right now. But all the other checks, dots and decks and all that stuff that could be done during business
Right.
hours.
Right.
That wasn't a big deal as far as that's concerned. She wasn't out showing in the evenings doing those kind of things. We're
Right.
not terribly involved in the community and doing things because we're just not. Again, she's the introvert. I'm more of an
Yeah.
extrovert, but I'm not the person that in a networking event that's going to be butterflying around. It's just not my thing, not who I am.
Yeah.
So we like to make sure that our couch stays on the ground, at home in the evenings. So
Perfect, perfect. So one of the things that you kind of mentioned is, you kind of sell, the Black Hills lifestyle. You're not just selling homes, you're educating about the whole Black Hills or Rapid
yep.
City in general. So how do you feel the lifestyle storytelling that you do plays into your marketing and how you connect with your buyers?
Right. So that's actually something that really started in high gear in 2020 when I started my YouTube channel. And so I started a channel that's called Moving to Rapid City, where I focused it on when I presented a video every week on some of the things about moving to the state. Now, of course, as if you're moving from out of state, if you and I were going to go move to Florida, we'd want to know, well, what about the hurricanes? How does that work? What do you need to do? Should I buy a condo? What's going on with that? See, there's a lot of things that we don't know about because it's just such a different culture, really, in a lot of ways. There's so many things that are a lot different.
Agree.
So I started creating a video talking about, well, here's the pros and the cons. Here's the cost of living. Here's what you can expect here. The things that anyone might kind of ask if they're going to be moved to the area. And then I started doing neighborhood drive-through tours to give people an idea of what the homes look like. I went to some of the shopping centers to give an idea what the shopping looked like. And so I really wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of, first of all, what it's like to live here, what it costs to live here, and then also, what are the wonderful things about living here. So I would go on some hikes, and every time I'd go out, I'd make a video. So I do some hiking videos, I do some lake videos, and so all the different things, not only showcasing what are the costs involved in living here, but what are the beautiful parts about living here? What are some of the positives
Yeah,
about being here? And then I
I
also
love it.
flip that and make sure that say, hey, by the way, if you don't like winter, don't move here because that's just not good what it's going to be.
Right,
Right. So
right.
there's the pros and the cons also.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite local spots that maybe are some hidden gems that people don't know about?
Yeah. Not so much a hidden gem, but we have a boat. So we love to head out on Pactola.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's out in the Black Hills. It's only about
Mhm.
45-minute drive. But what we like to do is go Wednesday afternoon. We cut off work about 3, 4 o'clock, and then we spend 5 o'clock until dark on the lake. And so what happens is kind of people start, especially in the middle of the week, people
Yeah.
start going out and going home. And so, and the weather calms down and the wind calms down. It's just a perfect peaceful evening out at the lake. So
Yeah,
that's one of our favorite spots for sure.
that
But I
is my
like a lot
dad's
of
favorite spot out there, I think.
it,
Yes.
it's pretty
Echo,
cool.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. So what are you finding that is drawing families and newcomers to that Rapid City Black Hills area?
A lot of people are coming here for what a lot of people call is easier lifestyle. I'm helping a lot of people move here from metropolitan areas where there's lots of traffic. It takes 2 hours to get even just to get into the DMV and all the different things that make life a little more difficult, more time consuming. And of course, you're dealing with all those extra things. Where here, we don't really have traffic, I mean, limited traffic for sure. Yes, we're more
Okay.
remote, but we've got all the shopping things, so a lot of people are just looking for a little easier of a lifestyle. And with the Black Hills in our back door, you can be in nature in half an hour to an hour, almost by yourself, depending on where you go. So
Yeah.
that's been a pretty big draw to a lot of people moving to our area.
Awesome. So what should people know that are maybe watching this that are debating where in South Dakota to move to? What is the current real estate market like over there?
Yeah,
What should they
so
expect
right
from
now
that?
we're kind of in this spot where it's a little weird, is kind of the word I use. Obviously, with interest rates being a little higher, we're seeing homes staying on the market for a little bit longer as our buyer pool is shrinking a little bit. People are on the fence. What's going to happen? A lot of weird things going on in the world. So, some people are a little bit, hesitant to just jump on the market. So we're seeing things go between 45 to 60 days on the market, but reality is back, that's kind of where things were back like in 2019, prior to the craziness of COVID. It's kind of normalized in a lot of ways. Our prices are hasn't necessarily gone down a whole lot, but they certainly softened. They certainly kind of leveled out. And 3 years ago, you had to present multiple offers with money over asking price. Now you present
Mhm.
an offer with, maybe it's $10,000 low when you negotiate. So that's
Yeah.
kind of coming back. So we're seeing a lot of that kind of normalization coming on. It's becoming a little more of a balanced market than it has been in the past previous years throughout the Black Hills.
Yes, I agree with that here in Aberdeen as well. I mean, 3 years ago, if you had a home sale contingency, it was almost like you weren't getting the house. I mean,
Yeah,
and
you're
now
done.
at least you can present one and, most of the time, it will work out. So
Yeah,
yes,
or at
it's
least the
nice to
sellers
see
are
that.
willing to look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So do you have anything that really sticks out, like a great relocation, client memory, anything memorable that sticks out to you as being like a challenging one or a fun one or a very unique one? Maybe you had any unique client or anything exciting?
I think the ones that I remember the most are the ones where I met with somebody as they were thinking about coming here. So they came and they visited me here at the office, and then I drove them around a little bit. We talked about different things, and later on, and then I asked him, I said, "Okay, how did how did that work for you? What did you feel like when it was finally decided time to come?" And
Yeah,
they told me the stories of, hey, we drove over the hill and it just felt like this was home. And we moved here and this was just the place for us. And those are the kind of stories that really meant a lot to me because no matter what I say or do, I want to make sure that the clients have a spot where they feel like this is their place now. And it's not something
right.
that's just a stop or an experiment, but this is where I want to be. And so those are
Right.
the things that I remember the most and the best is this those positive experiences from people moving here and saying, I just love it here.
Awesome, awesome. So you touched a little bit on your tech side. So you like to blend a lot of tech, into your heart of real estate. So how do you, besides your YouTube channel, use video, online tools, or social media to stand out in your market?
And a lot of that actually has been to the point where it kind of has been even a little bit, maybe slowed down a little bit, where the more important thing is just staying in touch with people with the text or with the phone, using the phone.
Mm.
But I've always been pretty good with programs so I can do the editing myself. I don't have a lot of fancy equipment. I don't really need a lot of fancy equipment. I do a lot of my short form videos on my phone. Um,
Hmm.
I have a couple nice cameras and some lights that I got going on, and those type of things. and I like to use them. But I bought a lot of stuff initially when I first got started because I'm like, I want to use all this stuff, and I don't really need it anymore
Yeah.
because a lot of the stuff just isn't needed. It's trying too hard. I'm not a professional videographer. I don't necessarily need all the things, but I can have enough fun with what I'm doing, with what I have to make things, go pretty good. Obviously, with the advent of AI, things are becoming a lot easier, but there's just so much stuff that you can do
There's
with
so
that.
much.
It's
Yeah.
just almost a little mind numbing. Usually I'm all on top of that stuff, but my concern with that is, and this is kind of how I'm looking at it, I've always come across as authentic. That's always been my
Hmm.
way. I am who I am. You're going to get what you get, whether I'm on video or I'm on camera or you're in person. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I think, and I'm going to tell you what's good for you, even if that means we're not buying a house today, right? I'm
Right.
not here to sell stuff. I'm here to make sure you got the place that you want. And that's just, as you mentioned, relationship stuff.
Yeah.
That just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So
Being
I'm
authentic to
right,
yourself
and
and not
so
trying to be
using
fake.
some of
Yeah.
these AI tools that
Mhm.
you can just enter text into an AI and record some of your face pictures, and it'll do everything for you
Yes.
without you even getting on camera. And
That's
so
crazy.
I could do that, but I just haven't felt like that's really what I want to be. It can't quite capture my intonations, my fixtures. Obviously I'm very expressive when I talk. I use my hands a lot. Those are the
Yeah.
things that I want to make sure stay true to who I am. So while I use AI a lot for some things to make life a little easier, I'm not completely bought into everything just because I think there's some reality to being real.
Yeah, you want to keep that, and you sounds like you want to keep the personal touch. So you're
100%.
kind of balancing your high-tech marketing and then also keeping that human contact first approach in your business. Kind of.
100%.
So what tips, let's shift it to the agents. So if there's other agents watching this, what are some of the apps or some of the tech that you use? I mean, you keep it very simple. There's a lot out there, like you said. What do you find that works well?
Right. So I happen to have the Adobe suite, which is Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe Reader, all the different things. So I
Yep.
think that's like $60 a month and you get all the tools. So I kind of learned how to use Premiere Pro to do a lot of my editing. And you
Yeah.
can go down the rabbit hole on that thing and you can do so much with it. But again, it's just as long as you know how to import your clips, cut the clips, add some fun little things, add your text, all those things, you can get a pretty good feel of it, without going too far down the rabbit hole.
Right.
However, there are a number of apps that work very good. CapCut has been obviously a very popular
Mhm.
one. The
Yes.
other one is another one that I've used before. It's called InShot, and these are ones that help
Oh,
you edit your videos. And
yeah.
obviously, it's kind of one of those things where you can do so much with it if it's free. And of course, if you pay for it, then you can do more
The really
things that
fun stuff.
yeah, the
Yeah.
more things you want to do. Um,
Yeah.
and
That's
then
always how they get you.
of
Yeah.
course, of course. And then, then Instagram's got their new edits one,
Yeah.
too. So those are some three pretty easy programs that are free that you can start messing with just to start to learn how to edit your video clips. And I think the biggest tip, even when it comes to before you even get to the editing part, is just your presentation on camera. And a lot of that is uh, just make sure your angle is right and you're just talking as if you were talking to a client
Yeah.
and make sure who you are shines through. And when you start talking and you mess up, then you can just go through and you edit all that. So it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
perfect right away. That's what the editing tools are for. A lot of people get
Yeah.
really bogged down with the script and being perfect and blah blah blah. And it's like just get on the
Looking
phone.
perfect. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
get on the
they
phone and
find
do
that
it.
the top ones are when you actually are sweaty and gross and just being more real, you get more hits, is kind of what some of the agents have told
Yes,
me. The
yeah.
more
The ones that
real
I
you
thought
are, yeah.
whatever, this is stupid, are the ones that I'm like, and the ones I spend time on making look cool and doing a few extra edits, nothing. So
Yep.
yeah, the reality of being real and the authentic, that's what people want to see. So if you're trying
Yeah.
too hard to make it professional, people just kind of go, oh yeah, whatever. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
don't try so hard.
Right. Well, awesome. It's been great getting to know a lot of your tips. It's amazing to see how you and your wife can work together and balance your business. And how can people, if they have questions for you or want to get in touch about real estate in the Black Hills or Rapid City area, how can they get in touch with you? And why don't you shout out, your website, your podcast again, or your YouTube channel, I guess, and let them know how they can stay connected with you.
Right. Well, fortunately for me, I've got a very unique name. So you type in my name in Google and you're going to find all the things. But most of my channels are at Tristan Emond. Sometimes I have a little character outro, but at Tristan Emond will get you on Instagram. We'll get you on even youtube.com. At Tristan Emond will get you to my YouTube channel. And you'll be able to find me no matter where I'm at with that handle, or even just a search for my name on Google.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Thank you again, Tristan, for being here on the Local Lens, and we will see you all next time. Thanks for watching.
Take care, everybody.
That wraps up this episode of The Local Lens. Thanks for tuning in and exploring South Dakota with me. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help us reach more listeners. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and more community highlights. Until next time, keep discovering, connecting, and thriving.